السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، ومرحبا بالجميع في ندوتنا الدولية عبر الإنترنت، المرأة المسلمة في السياحة والتحديات والمستقبل. شكرا جزيلا للدكتور رضا سلطاني على تنظيم هذا المؤتمر الافتراضي الهام، وترحيب حار بضيفي الشرف الدكتور طالب الرفاعي من المملكة الأردنية الهاشمية والسيد رائد حابس من المملكة العربية السعودية. Hello and welcome everyone to our international webinar, Muslim Women in Tourism, Challenges and the Future. Thank you very much, Dr. Riza Sultani, for organizing this important virtual conference, and a very warm welcome to our guest of honor, Dr. Talib Rifai from the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, and Mr. Ra'ed Habis from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now I pass the words to our wonderful moderator for today, Deborah.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure once again to be a moderator here in the Women's Voices in Tourism webinar. Thank you, Reza. I am a travel journalist. So since 1987, I've been making travel shows of a variety. I've traveled as many as 15 countries a year. And of course, many of them are Muslim countries. I'm someone who has learned a lot going to these places and then finding it doesn't equate with what I see in the media or people's attitudes towards other people. I am deeply troubled by the lack of equality in this world, whether it be because of gender reasons or religious reasons or any reasons at all. I believe that travel should be an equal experience, whether you are disabled or a female or a Muslim or whatever. So for me, it's a wonderful concept to have these webinars to see how we can uncover some of these challenges and find out how we can move forward step by step. I'm a little bit out of my depth here. There are people on this webinar that are quite aware of the travel industry and its effects on Muslim women. And one thing I did find out fairly recently is that at least halal travel was responsible for $80 billion last year. Now imagine that, the power of $80 billion in tourism, and that's halal travel alone. 1/3 of those travelers are solo females, and many of them are under the age of 30. So that's why we have one speaker today who can probably shed light on more about that. We all know about the glass ceiling that there is for women, how it's really hard to get above that. And I guess I'm one of those considered privileged people in North America that may not have that problem, but it's there. It's there in every country in the world where sometimes it's just difficult for women to get ahead. And in order to promote the travel of Islamic women like the tour operators that are Muslim women need to get ahead. Okay, in some countries, especially developing countries, such as in the Middle East, but mainly in developing countries, it's just harder for women to be doing business. You know, women are often considered second-class citizens or just not supposed to be working or whatever because of belief systems. And many of them cannot speak up for themselves for fear of being silenced for one reason or another. And that's worldwide to varying degrees. So, and many women are afraid to travel because of the Islamophobia that they are encountering in airports, on planes, just people that just have an incorrect concept or just a lack of open-mindedness, which is something that we're going to explore in this webinar as well. Many believe the situation is improving around the world, so many more people are traveling than in previous times. And as mentioned, many Islamic women are traveling alone. And it's absolutely true that their business is incredibly important to the economy. So without any further ado, I have some very interesting women to introduce to you that have their perspective from the country that they are speaking from. And our first is Dr. Rafaa Haddad, who is an assistant professor in tourism and hospitality management at the Department of Media, Tourism and Fine Arts at Bahrain University. She worked for Philadelphia University as an assistant professor in the Department of Tourism and Hospitality, has a PhD in tourism management, and I could go on, but we can see that she's quite experienced and she knows the facts. So let's hear from Dr. Rafaa Haddad.
Thank you, Bia, and thank you, Dr. Riza, for this opportunity. First of all, I have this practical and academic experience. Before becoming a doctor, I started working in tourism in 1995, and this was a very long time ago. I couldn't understand things as I do now. The first incident I could never forget, and it is related to our topic today, Muslim women who can work in tourism. Is it reality or illusion? When I jumped into the bus and I met my 50 tourists, first group of French tourists in Jordan, they were staring, and I felt that there's something wrong. But I couldn't figure it out until the third day of my tour. Questions started, and they said to me, "Are you Jordanian? Are you Arab? Are you Muslim?" A lot of questions at that time I couldn't understand. Until years and years. And right now I am writing an academic research about this topic. Can really Muslim women work in tourism? Is it a reality or an illusion? First of all, it is important to understand that tourism and Islam, they go hand in hand. And Bia, she talked about halal tourism right now. If we go back to the Muslim era and decades backwards, we will find that Islam promoted tourism, but in an indirect way. Islam promoted for Hajj and Umrah, which is religious tourism today. Islam promoted for science and knowledge, and which is educational tourism today. Islam promoted for admiring God's creation, which is leisure tourism. For commerce, which is business tourism. For calling for God's way, which is missionary tourism. And mindfulness and meditation, which is spiritual tourism. Then Islam promoted tourism, but in a different way that we know right now. What about women and Islam in tourism? My research was a comparative study between females in Bahrain and in Jordan to understand why women are reluctant, and Muslim women in particular, to work in tourism sector or in hospitality sector. Researching the internet, I found from 2006 until 2021, the percentage of Jordanian women working in tourism is still 9%. And unfortunately, there are no real statistics showing Jordanians from non-Jordanians women working in this sector. And this means that the statistics are not really accurate. If we go to Bahrain, I couldn't really find real statistics. All I found that 23% of businesses in tourism, small and micro businesses, are created by females in Bahrain, and this is a good indicator. 4 factors from the preliminary findings about my research appeared very important. And I can say that Islam is innocent from many accusations. The main 4 themes were family, traditions, patriarchy, and religion, besides other factors which are related to economic and the status, culture of shame in the society, and many other things. But if we look, what were the factors that influenced women reluctancy and avoidance to work in tourism? First of all, it was the family. Still in the Jordanian society, woman is perceived as the householder, and she is responsible about raising up the children. She can do specific types of jobs, which are related to education, and the time, which is between 8 and 2. I can remember in the 90s, working as a tour guide, it was shameful. Working as a nurse was shameful too. When we started working as tour guides, we were 7 between 1,000 males. Right now, the number is not far away, it's around 70. So, and half of them are originally not Jordanians. They are married to Jordanian men. So they get the residence and they work as tour guides. The family, as Jordan is a collectivist society, has a big power on female decisions in choosing their life and their careers in the future. So you don't have this solo decision, I want to do this, so I can do it. No, we have this culture of shame and the power of the family over the individual. The second factor was related to norms and traditions. How this job is perceived by the society. Is it accepted? Are you going to get married later on if you work as a tour guide? What is the society going to talk about you? How can you get your home at midnight? You're going to work in shift B or C? All of these questions, they turn around in any woman's mind in Jordan, because at the end of the day, it's part of her life. But she's thinking of having a family and having kids. She should think of this, all of these factors that influence also her decision. In addition, this job is considered, many of tourism-related jobs are considered male-related jobs. They are not made for women in Jordan. Things are changing, but very, very, very slowly. If I talk about the statistics between 2006 and 2021, the rate of females working in tourism-related jobs are still 9 to 10%, no progress at all. They were 2,000 and now they are 4,000. There were 20,000 males and now there are 48,000 males. The third factor, which is related also to the type of the society, which is patriarchy, which is the power of the male over females. This is something that we can't deny. When we talk about this, we don't talk about the capital Amman, which is totally different about the other cities or areas in Jordan. Still, the father, the brother, they have this authority over females in Jordan. If you want to choose this, you have to justify it. And it has to be accepted by the males in the family. If it's not accepted, you can't do it. You can't go ahead. And all of these factors are related to sociocultural factors, but not really Islam. From the preliminary findings about Islam, a woman stated that it is the least influential factor between all the other factors that have been mentioned in the questionnaire. And it was really a surprising finding that Islam got less than other factors. And this could be explained by that Islam could be misinterpreted by people, because Islam did not forbid women from working in tourism or from working in any other sectors. If we talk to Islam, the first nurse in Islam, Rafaa Haddad here, we talk about the 7th century AD. She was a female. She was the first nurse, female nurse to work with soldiers. Of course, she worked with the soldiers. She did not work with other females. The wives of Prophet Muhammad, والسلام, they were also involved in business, in commerce, and some women, they were nominated to accompany some political alliances around Saudi Arabia. So all of these factors clarifies that Islam is innocent from many, many accusations that have been given by people living in Arab or non-Arab countries, sometimes by Muslims and non-Muslims. I'm still in the initial stage of this research. And really, I'm very enthusiastic to get to the end of it and to publish it as an academic research in a reputed journal, just to clarify an image and stereotyping about Islam in two Muslim countries, Jordan and Bahrain. And that's it for today. Thank you for listening.
I'm unmuted. Okay, thank you very much. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges is traditions are beautiful things. So how do you get past them? How do you crack past them so that it's understood that there's still, honor and integrity in doing something different? So it sounds like...
Unfortunately, it will take generations. It's not an easy thing to do or to achieve, but we will never lose hope. We start, and I'm sure others will go on. I think it's a sustainable process that should be worked on. Just this brainwashing that there's a big difference between traditions and norms and between Islam as a religion. And
your voice is so important and appreciated in this whole project. So thank you so much. I'd also like to mention once again at this time that we're very pleased to have some very honored guests with us. We have Dr. Talib Rifai, who is often on these calls, and it's much appreciated. And of course, Lou Moore, who is the president of the International Institute of Peace through Tourism, who has inspired all of us to do everything that we're doing. And of course, Rayed Habis, who is the ex-director of tourism in the Islamic Chamber of Commerce. So we have some wonderful folks listening in and contributing to this whole process. Our next speaker is someone also in very much academic, has a wonderful academic background in tourism, Noor Charafuddin, has also specialized in over-tourism, which has been a problem, perhaps not so much now after the pandemic, but over-tourism is something definitely we need to make sure doesn't happen because it does ruin tourism. Networking and digitalization of tourism. So, and she's a senior tourism lecturer at the Faculty of Applied Social Sciences, University Sultan Zainal Abidin in Malaysia. So I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Noor, and we look forward to hearing your words. That's Noor Sharafuddin. I know she was here in the rehearsal. Well, perhaps she's taken a moment.
She was here.
Yes, she was. So you know what we'll do is we will just move on to our next speaker, who is Sahar Movadi, who also has a PhD in tourism management. She's a teacher, a consultant, a researcher in tourism. She's a faculty member of Tourism Research Group in, let's see now, in the Isfahan Chamber of Commerce, and the chairman of Creative Products and Event Committee of the Tourism Commission of Isfahan Chamber of Commerce. So can we welcome Sahar Movadi?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning and good afternoon to all the participants of this discussion all over the world. I'm very happy as an Iranian Muslim woman be among the intellectuals who are concerned about humanity. A special greeting to Mr. Talib Rafai, who's present give credence to this humanitarian meetings.
Thank you.
Yes. Do you want to participate from Malaysia? Okay. If you let me, I share my
Dr. Movadi, you can share your screen, no problem. Go ahead.
Thank you. Is it possible you share for me? Mr. Sosani, is it possible to share for me?
I don't think it is. I think at the bottom of your screen, you might see a little green symbol that says share content.
Yes, I find this, but I can't connect to my folder.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah, thank you. This presentation focused on discrimination against Muslim women because of their hijab. However, I want to consider hijab in tourism movement in this discussion and consider the effect of the short-term interaction between Muslim and non-Muslim cultures. According to Encyclopedia of Islam and Muslim World, mostly concern both men's and women's gaze, gait, garment, and in the Quran instructs Muslim women and men to dress modestly. Hijab is not just a dress code. It's significant something deeper. It is worn by Muslim women to maintain modesty and privacy from unrelated males. In essence, hijab provides the Muslim women with both spiritual and physical peace and harmony. So hijab and other forms of Islamic veiling are important social, cultural, and religious symbols that are central to the identity of millions of Muslim women across the world. In fact, distinguish Muslims from other people in tourist destinations and create different perception in the mind. But unfortunately, these perceptions are not always positive and often discussed effect in non-Muslims, Western society. In that perceptions of Muslim women wearing the hijab are frequently negative, and wearing the hijab is likely to increase hostility and promote outgoing perception toward them. Muslims with hijab experience two types of discrimination: religious discrimination and gender discrimination. And this can bring unpleasant memory for them in the expected relational atmosphere of tourist destination. Iranian women also bear the third layer of discrimination, which is Iranophobia. I personally don't want to make travel with hijab a thing. I hardly ever come to a point where I feel my headscarf is affecting my experience. But from the point of view of people with hijab as tourism in non-Muslim destination, I still want to talk about it. Do you have my voice?
Yes.
Yes. Experience state that show Muslim women horribly insulted by ordinary people and are called as terrorists while traveling with hijab. For this lecture, I have summarized the experience of 20 women who have traveled to Muslim and non-Muslim destination on the issue of hijab, and I have interviewed more than half of them. Of course, the recorded experience are mostly based on behavioral discrimination, not verbal, because they were not fluent in non-English and most destinations were not English-speaking country. All of these women had a bachelor degree or higher. In other words, in tourism interactions, a woman with hijab can be a tourist or host. The reason for this distinction is that in a study and interview that were conducted for recording experience of Muslim women, the type of encounters in these two dimensions were different. And therefore, in this presentation, these two dimensions are the primary base for the division. From the perspective of the Muslim women as the tourists, the behavior of people of destination commonly depend on two factors. One is the level of tourist acceptance of destination and normal movement and activity of Muslim as resident in the destinations. The next factor is depending on the situation, their position at the time of encounter. As an ordinary people or a representative, the public sector or representative of scientific community. Regarding the first claim, it was conducted, the encounters and relation with women with hijab in society that had experienced encounter with Muslims in the form of tourists or citizens were mostly normal and didn't experience any discrimination attitude and behavior from ordinary people in this country. People will care very little about a piece of material on your head, as they are probably meet load of Muslims and have a broader perspective of the world, except in particular period when tension was created by government or groups. From the point of view of the destination community, it would be said that people's information or value are pretty different around the world. For example, in North America or North Europe, people are accustomed to seeing women in a headscarf. It doesn't mean that you will never meet many people, but at least there is no staring. In countries like Japan, it's very interesting. Despite the very few number of hijabs, people are rising to respect your personal space and choice of clothes. You are never make an opinion about it on the street, and they will obviously not stare. In fact, a few incidents in Japan where people actually want a photo with women with hijab as if interesting creature. In India, the individual people deal in this one country is not so massive that they won't bother about you looking different. In countries where Muslims are really seen, it's natural to catch a few stares. Most the time they are just curious, but it's still pretty annoying. Even bringing a Muslim something show how much you spend money in that destination. My friend said that she was treated well because she was probably taken as a rich Arab. In Oslo, in Scandinavia, shows Muslims have lower income and people are not used to see them in the expensive shops. Each woman with hijab has unique experience. So because this dialogue has the humanitarian approach, it is not fair to generalize negative experience to all the people of the country. People's experience in one specific place can be very different. It's really a matter of luck. I have traveled to France quite a few times and I've never felt insulted by anyone. My friend's experience was very different. My own experience goes back to Metro and Louvre Museum in Paris. There were a concern risk of being to make too much declared about the ownerless bag at the metro station, and where every time after this announcement, people look at Muslim standing in line with anger or concern. There were even reports of attack by foreign tourists. Those country is at war with Muslims. Since these people can't express their anger to responsible men, women seems to be an easier target. And that's nothing worse than that. Also in this situation, the human view in this circumstance says extending this problem to all Muslims in the world is unfair, and one should not judge a person's religious belief because of political view. Okay, the second factor. In counterposition, show that women in hijab who travel as government representatives or diplomats or participate in scientific conference, they didn't announce the experience of discrimination in a specialized gathering. And because the representative of their country were in that gathering, they were very proud of hijab they had chosen and even declared that they didn't face gender discrimination. But these women outside the scientific and diplomatic circle were subjected to discrimination behavior. The majority of response expressed the experience of discrimination view of their hijab in the face of the public sector of countries, especially at airports, museums, transportation, and etc. Especially when they arrive at the country at the airport, their classification in queues were obvious racial discrimination and the very upsetting behavior in that area. Okay, if you remember the second dimension, as mentioned at the beginning, I will focus on position of women from non-Muslim country in Muslim country. Despite the large body of literature that exists on the political and sociocultural aspect of Islamic willing, little is known about the non-Muslim women wearing the hijab in Muslim country. There are so many different values of Islam, and come to realize the significant difference between belief in Islamic destination like Pakistan, Turkey, Iran, and etc. And even different behavior is covering the hijab. The truth is that we are all on the journey of hijab. Hijab has so much to do with one's culture, background, and their other beliefs. There are limited number of Muslims.
Dr. Movahed, I just had a thought while you're saying this, that it's kind of interesting that to me, well, we've both been in travel for a long time, right? And you're mentioning that things are getting a lot better. When was that happening? Just the last few years, or has it gone on longer that things are getting much better? For me, I fly sometimes on Emirates or Etihad, and I find that the hijab and just the manner of dress is glamorous. I find it quite attractive and appealing. And would you say that they have contributed somewhat to helping to erase this stereotype?
Mm-hmm. You asked me the stereotype of people shows the position, yes?
What's that?
I didn't catch your question.
Oh,
can you explain?
I was just thinking that, like, for me, we're seeing that there's a lot of advertising, say, from airlines like Emirates and Etihad. And they're very proud of the culture, and their flight attendants and staff are very well dressed, and they're dressed with covering. And I was just saying that, you know, I think people think of it as a bit glamorous. And I was wondering if you thought that this change has been more rapid in the more recent past, that people are more accepting. And maybe those things are reasons.
Yes, I accept this.
Okay.
Can I continue?
Sure. I think we have a few minutes left.
Yes. There are so many different versions of Islam, and come to realize the significant difference between belief in Islam destination. As I said before, in Iran, there is a dress code which are limited, and obey this dress code is necessary. Men short are not acceptable in public place. Wearing ties and bows is not a problem. T-shirts are acceptable. For women, there are some minimum requirements for foreign women dress code in public place. Only body should not be bare and hair is covered with hijab. It doesn't mean you should have a tie scarf around your head. It's quite acceptable for women to allow whip off their hair for frame their face. Appropriate hat and caps can do this function as well as a scarf. The scarf is the most common covering for head and is called rusari in Farsi. Tourists who come to Iran are aware of the Iranian laws on prohibition and choose Iran, so wearing hijab is not an unwanted encounter for them. However, these rules are not observed very strict, especially for tourists and foreigners. You must not worry about maintaining your hijab, since in time you have forgotten about it. The maximum penalty will be a request in a kind way to make it correct. It is a completely false belief that wearing must be dark in Iran. This is not a limitation in this respect, and we recommend you make your using light color in summer. As I mentioned in my PowerPoint, hijab also have many different forms in Iran, as you said. See, I have some suggestion for Muslims that go to different countries. Muslim women are confused about how they be treated outside of the country while wearing a scarf. So there are so many women who feel conscious about it.
We have 1 more minute.
Yes, I will share many experience of this conclusion. I personally love colors and don't dress very different from other people apart from the additional scarf. I don't wear crazy makeup or have a very unique hijab style and help not to catch too much attention. So I recommend women from different countries to wear like jeans, like ordinary clothes to be common in this destination. Also, as I said, there are very little chance that you will deal with negative behavior and speech by traveling with the hijab. But if you don't let it ruin your whole experience, it's okay to feel horrible and angry, but you shouldn't let your experience words up to affect your trip. And finally, I suggest that in this regard, as a travel blogger, community mostly represent travel through the eye of Western travelers and few successful Asian blogger and fewer from the Middle East. I thought it won't hard to share an experience so many of us deal with because we still live in a Islamophobic world in this regard. A solution for future is more use of public media in cyberspace to retell your experience and create a mutual understanding on different perspectives. Certainly, the inherent future of tourism and social media will further help nations to better understanding each other in the future. Thank you for interactive atmosphere this conversation created as it builds mutual understanding and help minimize misjudgment in communication. Thank you, Reza Soltani and other participants.
Thank you so much, Dr. Movahedi. And I must say, I just love the image in the back, behind you, with the woman and the dove of peace. It's just a very beautiful, feminine, happy image. So thank you for your words. You're helping things move forward, that's for sure. Now we're going to go back to Dr. Noor Sharafuddin, and we'll hear the situation as it is in Malaysia.
Okay. Hi, Assalamualaikum and good evening, everyone. I would like to apologize for the technical issues just now. Okay, today I would like to share a screen of my PowerPoint. I'm very honored to have the opportunity to share some of the challenges and travel tips for Muslim women travelers from a personal point of view. So my name is Dr. Noor. I'm from University Sultan Zainal Abidin, Terengganu, Malaysia. Okay. Okay, as I mentioned before, I come from a small country in the Asia continent, Malaysia, and my neighboring countries are Thailand, Singapore, and also Indonesia. As I spoke to some of the speakers just now, some of them have already visited Malaysia, and that's very nice. So they might be familiarized with the environment and the beautiful scenery. So let's continue. So this is just a brief of Malaysia, how Malaysia is in the Muslim travel. So Malaysia is remains as the #1 destination globally as a Muslim travel destination and is one of the top ranked global tourism destinations according to the OIC. So few of the things that make Malaysia as one of the top destinations is, of course, from the four that you can see here, there is access communication, environment, and services. So from the access is basically the connectivity where they provide the infrastructure for airlines and airports for people coming into the country. And in terms of the communication is basically from how the tourism is promoted to the other countries and how they create awareness on how Malaysia is a Muslim friendly travel destination. And environment is they look into how the safetyness of the country in practicing their religions, and also in the visitor arrivals. And finally, services, they look into two core needs and services, which are halal food. Of course, people traveling to other destination, Muslim travelers, they look for halal food, and we have abundance of that. And also prayer facilities, which are easy to find. And the core services are just like Muslim friendly hotels, and also the airports. Yeah, I hope. So these are some of the photos I've taken in Malaysia, in some of the states, which you can see here. There is Sabah, Terengganu, and also Kuala Lumpur, the big city. So I, as a Muslim traveler myself, it has always been easy to travel to Malaysia, as proven by the GMTI and also OIC result just now, because it has never been difficult for me to practice my religion and at the same time travel within my country. So even though Malaysia is majority of the local communities are Muslims, but we are a diverse country where we have many different religion practices. We have different ethnicities, and we have different languages that we offer in Malaysia. So you can experience so much in a small country. So do visit us one day if you have the opportunity. Okay. I was born in Malaysia, obviously, and I've never been treated as an outsider when I'm in Malaysia. So I always at my comfort zone. But since I was young, I was given the opportunity to travel to other destinations. And of course, thanks to my father who had brought me to so many places before. And also at the same time, when I got the opportunity to travel more, when I further my studies in the UK. So these are some of the places that I pinned on the locations, the places I've been to. Okay, here's more of the pictures, personal pictures. I hope everyone can see. Okay, some of the earliest destinations. This is just my personal story I would like to tell first. So some of the earliest destinations that I've been to since I was young was United Kingdom, which was when I was 6 years old. And then my family brought me to Australia when I was 7, and then Saudi Arabia when I was 8. And as I grew older, we went to China, Singapore, and also Turkey. So, but when I travel with my family, it has always been easy for me because my father used travel agents. So they provided us with food, halal food. So everything is planned out for us, very presentable and easy for us to follow, especially in terms of praying facilities. So it has always been provided for us. So as I grew older and I got married, I got the chance to travel with my husband. Then is where I think I faced some challenges as a Muslim woman traveler, because when I was younger, I wasn't aware even as to my surroundings compared to as I grew older now. Okay, so my husband and I, when we choose a destination, we never consider destinations that we feel closer or we can get cheaper flight tickets, because we always think thoroughly of what are the destinations we want to go, because we feel that it is a lifetime opportunity. So when choosing a destinations, we're always looking for the experience, for the unique, beautiful landscape. So that is when we've traveled a lot in Europe, like Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, and then we went to Bosnia and Montenegro. Okay, this video is recorded by my husband. So I just want to tell a bit. When I was got transferred to further my studies in the UK, it was such a blessing for me to experience firsthand different culture and different environment compared to I always used to. But nonetheless, when I traveled to the UK, I've prepared I've mentally prepared if anything that may come, especially as a hijab wearing Muslim woman traveler, because obviously all of you might have known this. Women traveler who wears hijab have higher risk of discrimination because due to their visible Muslim appearances. You know, you can't hide it. It's obvious you're a Muslim. So with the rise of Islamophobia, I sometimes get honked at or shouted at as I walk in the city or to my university. So it's very normal, but it's not happening all the time. But it is important to note that not everyone is like that, because my neighbor are very kind and the people I met are very kind too. So not everyone is like that, but it did happen to, and it will happen to anyone. So and at the same time, when cases like anything that involves with Muslim, like the bombing that happening in the Manchester Arena during Arena Grande concert, or the knife attack at the London Bridge, I've always take a precaution on that and stayed at home usually and let it subside for a week or two. And sometimes our Muslim community in Cornwall, where we studied, always reminded us to be careful, look for your surroundings, because we don't know how the reaction of people towards us as a minority there in Cornwall. So these are some of the challenges that I faced and some of the measures that I took for my safety and also for my family's safety. So, but I believe that people have experienced it differently. So it is actually depends on anyone or everyone. So these are some of what my personal experiences are. So these are the beautiful Cornwall. It's very mesmerizing indeed. And next, we have to stop there. Okay, so these are some of the useful travel tips for women Muslim travelers that I think can be helpful for some of us. First is to be mentally prepared for any danger or anything that may come to us. So we need to be strong, we need to be confident, and of course, it's not wrong to travel while wearing a hijab, but you know, when you're visiting a country that is considered Muslim as a minority, you have to always be careful, and because people tend to look at you differently sometimes, but it's not all. Sometimes they look at you because, oh, you're different, that's all. Not everyone's like that. Okay, and then, okay, number 2, do research. Is it safe for Muslim travelers to visit some of the places? And what are the emergency numbers you can contact? Where to go to if anything happen? And next is number 3 is the plan and share your itinerary. So planning meaning where to go, and then where to stop and pray. And so and sharing means you share it with your family or your closest friends, your whereabouts, so that they'll know where are you at the moment, just in case anything happen. Number 4, bring instant food. I know some people would like to travel and find halal food instead of instant food, but my husband and I believe that it's very easy to bring instant food and also money saving at the same time. But it's always best to bring backups. And then number 5, prayer times and Qibla direction. Okay, I use an app to guide me in my prayer times and remind me what are the times and the Qibla direction, so that it's easier for me to pray wherever I am. And then doa, pray to Allah that He protects your journey. And finally, this one I always tell my friends and family about hooded jacket, because when I was studying or traveling outside, I always like to hide in my hooded jacket. That's why my favorite whether it's when it's rain, because everyone actually look the same. So, but anything else, just go ahead and travel the world. Don't let such challenges hinder you to be the explorer you are. It will be such a waste. So go ahead and travel and don't be scared. Maybe the tips will be helpful for you in the future. I think that's all from me. Back to you,
Thank you
Bia.
so much, Dr. Noor. You know what? You are the target. You are the target traveler in this $80 billion industry of halal travel, because it's Islamic travel worth 80 billion, and
Yeah.
it's people around the age of 30 or just under that's motivating this. Now, would you say that you're quite rare, or are many of your friends like you?
Many of my friends like me. I've even saw some of the people that are close to me. They travel, in fact, travel alone abroad. They are very confident, but it's always important to take precautions. That's all. But don't stop you from traveling. That's the most important thing, because travel, you can get a bigger horizon. You can see the world. Yeah.
One final question for you, and that is, when somebody harasses you or
Okay.
says something demeaning to you,
Yeah.
what do you do, or what do you recommend that somebody do?
I just stay quiet most of the time. I didn't react to it. I just ignore and move forward, because it would be scary if I reacted to them and then they probably like it when I do that. So most of the time, if I get honked at or shouted at, I just walk away quietly. Yeah.
That's probably good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noor, for those
Thank you
observations.
for
All the
this.
best with the rest of your traveling career.
Yeah. Looking
At
forward.
this time, I'd also like to welcome some of our UN tourism colleagues that are on board here, as well as the Arab American Women's Association. So we're getting a lot of people tuning in, and many more will tune in afterwards, because this is all recorded and will be shown later. Now, our next speaker is Deborah Johnson, who has lived in Africa, South Africa, the Middle East, and she is renowned and responsible for the development of many projects that advance tourism. She presently is the campus principal and director of quality for the International Technical Female College, Makkah, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So let's welcome Deborah Johnson.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Yes, Deborah is my name, and I come from South Africa. I was born there. I was raised there. That is my home country. That is my roots. I'm from Cape Town, and I've had the wonderful opportunity and doors open for me to work in Africa and the Middle East. And I'll give you a little bit of background of how did I come to Saudi Arabia, and it all really started way back in 2006. I was working for the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. And there was an opportunity through the Consulate General of South Africa based in Jeddah to bring institutions involved with tourism and hospitality training in South Africa to Saudi Arabia. And our institution at that point in time, the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, was one of them. And I headed up tourism and event management at the university. So hence we came on a journey to Saudi Arabia. But I was listening to the ladies, what they were sharing. And I must also say, from my own experience, when I told my family I've got this opportunity to travel to the Middle East, and that kind of was my first experience of the Middle East, and South African colleagues and everyone in South Africa, the reaction was, "Whoa, you're going to the Middle East." And it was negative, because people see things about the Middle East in the news. And I've learned in my lifetime that perception is deception. And we came to Saudi Arabia, we arrived here, and I must say, from 2006 until my experiences now, so much has changed in the country. And I fell in love with the country when I arrived here in 2006. It was a bit stricter then, and wearing the abaya for foreign women, and we obeyed everything, because my point of view is, when I visit a different country or when I go to someone else's house, it's very important to show respect, and this is how you build relationships. So I respect the culture, I respect the people. This is their way, and who am I to come into someone else's country or someone else's house to dictate anything to them. It was just an amazing experience. My time there, I was there for 2 weeks in 2006, and we traveled between Jeddah and Riyadh, setting up establishing relationships between our university and with institutions in Saudi Arabia. But at that point in time, the opportunities for ladies in Saudi to be involved in tourism wasn't as much as what it is now. And we went back, and between our university, there was a relationship established in Saudi Arabia. And eventually I ended up working in Saudi Arabia for a Saudi group. I left my university in South Africa. I came back in 2009 and worked here until 2012. And it was one of the most amazing experiences. And I'm looking at this as an expat in Saudi Arabia. And in 2006, 2009 to 2012, the changes then was phenomenal. And there was more freedom for ladies, and they could be more involved in tourism. Today, it's totally different. I think with the 2030 vision in Saudi Arabia, and ladies are involved in everything, the opportunity is there. The company that I work for now is a Canadian company, Niagara College, Canada, and we are based here, NCKSA, in Saudi Arabia. I'm based now in Jeddah, and I go through to the college. It's just outside of Mecca. And it's incredible. At our institution, we have a track in event management and guest relations management, and the opportunities are there for the ladies. And the girls are so excited about what they are studying, and there's so much opportunity. The Formula One that's happening now in Jeddah within the next month. I think of the Riyadh season, and just our girls are out there working as volunteers at these events. And at the end of the day, it's possibly sometimes within the family setup that they find that they have challenges where they may not work, or the family has something to say about it, but there are opportunities now. Saudi has changed. It's a wonderful country. I love it. And the experiences every weekend, my husband and myself, we look at something that we're going to do different. And Jeddah is just amazing. If I have to compare it to Riyadh, I hope no one is here from Riyadh. Riyadh is amazing. It's an awesome city. I think it's the business capital of Saudi Arabia. Jeddah is a bit more relaxed and different. It's near the Red Sea. There's so much to see and to do. And from my own point of view, where I remember 2006, where there were areas where, as a lady, when I traveled to Riyadh for business while I was here for the 2 weeks, there were certain entrances I wasn't allowed in. I had to enter from a different entrance because I'm a woman. Today in Saudi Arabia, that doesn't exist anymore. We still have family sections and single sections where you move in with your family. But at the end of the day, my experience in Saudi Arabia, I have always felt safe. I have felt protected if I had to compare it to many other destinations where I've traveled to in the world today. And I often had to travel here by myself and on my own. I've been very well treated and well respected. I've made very good friendships in Saudi Arabia. Some of my best friends are Saudi with me and my husband. We have friends in a place called Al-Kharj, an amazing family that we got to know in terms of our time that we've been spending here in Saudi Arabia. But I'm excited to see what is happening in the country and the opportunities for Saudi women. And I believe one of my colleagues who serves on our advisory board at the college, Ms. Salwa Fatala, she is the HR director of the park in Mecca. She'll be signing in, and from her point of view as a Muslim lady, she would be able to share. But I can share as a Christian and an expatriate in Saudi Arabia how well I've been treated. And I have brothers and sisters in Saudi Arabia, and it's just an amazing country. The 2030 vision, I think, have set out certain pillars for local economic development and certain areas that need to be achieved by a certain time frame. And you see this is happening in Saudi Arabia, in particular in education, and we are playing a role in that. And it's awesome to work with a young woman and to have this privilege to make a difference and to bring some of our own experiences in. But needless to say, from a tourism point of view, I can just mention, I've made some notes here, the religious experience for people of the Muslim or Islamic faith to come to Saudi Arabia, this is where they would come to. But then also from an expat point of view, nature experience, culture and heritage, the experiences that you have here. Different regions in Saudi Arabia present a different culture, or Jeddah might be a little bit different to Riyadh in the traditional dress or the foods or the experiences, and it's absolutely amazing. The shopping experience in Saudi is awesome. The culinary experience, I think Saudi Arabia has got some of the top restaurants in the world and some of the top hotels in the world in this country. And also the events. There's been such a drive to develop events in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Formula One is about to start a month from now. And you have the amazing Riyadh season. And I think it's an absolute shopping haven. I've been in Dubai and I've traveled to Dubai a lot. And I have to say my personal choice will always be Saudi Arabia for shopping. And Saudi has also opened up to tourism now. There's been changes, particularly also for foreign women coming into the country, where they say you do not have to wear the hijab or the abaya anymore. But it's something for me that is so part of the culture of Saudi Arabia that as an expatriate, to this day, I shall wear my abaya because first and foremost, I want to show respect to my colleagues and my friends that I have made in Saudi. My husband and myself go for walks in the evenings. Wherever I go, I wear my abaya because for me, it's part of who Saudi Arabia is all about. And I love this whole notion of wearing the abaya and being modest in the way that you dress. It's a part of being a woman. And I love it. And I have got so many different types of abayas. And it's not for me, I don't wear it as a fashion statement. I think it's just part of being a woman and being modest and being feminine. It's really an amazing experience. And then also just traveling out into the desert, that's been one of the most amazing experiences as an expat I've had in Saudi Arabia, seeing the sunset in the Saudi desert and learning about the culture, the struggles that this country has gone through, the challenges that they have faced and where they are today and how they've been able to overcome it. And the women in particular, they are stalwarts in what they do. And there's a good future up ahead, I believe, for them as Saudi further develops in tourism and hospitality. And in all my experience here has just been amazing. And the project that we are working on now, it's a 2-year project, and our company is expanding throughout the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in various areas of education. And I'm excited to see these opportunities that are opening up for the young students who are following tracks in event management and guest relations management and tourism. And there are opportunities for the ladies here. So in all my experience to the Middle East since 2006 up until now has been very positive. Here and there's been, I won't call them challenges, but I think it's also part of people's culture and how they develop, and change is happening fast in Saudi Arabia. And I think often what people need to remember is that we're working with people, and people have a tradition and they have a culture and they have a heritage. And change also comes within the heart. And sometimes that change doesn't happen so often as it maybe would with policies that are changing and the governments and how they change. It's about the people, our people that are out there normally. I mean, we're all the same. We have different religions, but if you maybe take all of that away just for 1 second, you will see that we are all the same. We all have heartache. We all experience pain. We all cry. We all get hungry. We are human. We are people. We are all the same. But yes, our culture and our traditions makes us different, which makes tourism so unique and so interesting. And that's what it's all about. It's the culture and the heritage. And you see that in Africa as well. If you go to South Africa, we're known as the Rainbow Nation. It's got a very sad history. And South Africa is going through lots of challenges, but I'm a positive person and I believe the best for my country is still yet to come. And also here in Saudi Arabia, I've been welcomed and I've been treated so well. And I'm still on this journey here in Saudi Arabia, and I'm going to be still for some time. And it's been absolutely amazing and unique. And yes, Professor Trawa, thank you for this opportunity. And if anyone would like to contact me to find out more and to find out more about the type of courses that we're running with the young Saudi ladies, I've also been involved in a project where we were coaching and mentoring a year ago in Medina, in a Saudi college, where I was coached to a Saudi Dean Fatima Balogi. And it was an amazing experience working with Dean Fatma. And I really got to know and see Saudi tradition and culture in women on ground level. And we were able to share some of our experiences. But as an expatriate, I don't come into a country to profess that I know better than the people over here. We come to share some of our experiences, maybe where there's a need identified, but I can definitely say the experience has been a reciprocal one of learning. I've become so rich in what I've learned over these number of years. I think I'm going into my 8th year now in Saudi Arabia, and it's been quite an amazing journey. And I'm excited to see the change that's happening in Saudi Arabia. And also I want to compliment the country in the way that they've dealt with the pandemic and how well they have organized structures and how well they've dealt with everything around the coronavirus in Saudi Arabia. And in short, I don't want to go over my time. As an expat, that is my experiences. It is a haven for tourism and hospitality, absolutely. So thank you so much, Professor Trawa and distinguished guests, for your time and best wishes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deborah. And I bet you had a lot to do with the fact that everything is changing for the better. You have such a positive attitude. And what you're saying, actually, I find really enlightening. It's very different and interesting for me, as I wondered if it would be okay to travel to Saudi Arabia amongst other Middle Eastern countries. It sounds like Saudi Arabia has gone ahead a little faster from what you've been saying and from what I understand, but I have a tendency to be a little bit more flamboyant. I believe that there are as many ways to the top as there are people. I believe in every belief system, but I would not be able to wear the head covering. Would I be welcome all over Saudi Arabia?
I think in some areas, maybe where in Medina, for example, and certain areas in Mecca, for example, an area where a non-Muslim cannot go is called Haram. And when I was working in Medina, we were living in Medina in a specific area which was just outside of the Haram, where a non-Muslim person could not enter. But I knew going there for a year and working there for a year, this is the culture and the tradition and the religion of my colleagues. And I would need to show respect. So for that whole year, I actually wore my head covering. And when you are in areas where the religion is the focus area, I think it's only out of respect that you need to do that. And the same in Mecca. I'm just outside of the Haram area. But when I go there, I wear my full hijab, I wear my head covering. And for me, it's not an issue. It's no problem. It's part of who these ladies are, and I embrace them. It's my journey. I'm not going to be on this earth forever. And I want to experience as much as what I can. And this is who they are. And this is part of what I'm learning from their culture and their belief system. And I embrace them, and they have embraced me. And it is a absolutely amazing experience. In certain areas in Saudi Arabia, it's not strict. You don't have to wear the abaya. One would dress more modestly, but I wear my abaya because this is part of my experience in Saudi Arabia. This is who the country is. This is who the ladies are. And I love it. And I thoroughly enjoy it. And as I say again, for me, it's never been an issue to wear it. The headscarf or to wear the hijab. It's beautiful. It's part of the culture. It's part of the tradition here. And as I go to another country, the same. I would embrace their culture, their traditions, and learn in my own experience while I'm there. And it's part of this journey that we have on earth. But again, as I say, I think maybe two thoughts that I'd like to leave is that perception is deception often, and change comes within the heart. It's not in the government systems that people put up and the policies that they write. Change is within the hearts of people. And sometimes people are just not ready. They need time. And that's what we're seeing in South Africa, and that's what we sometimes see in countries in Africa. And people have made things difficult for themselves. But perception is deception, and change comes within the heart. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much again for your very positive words. And our next speaker is the unicorn I was referring to earlier. Dr. Abir Saad Al-Rumaya is in Kuwait. She's got a PhD in tourism and hospitality in developing domestic tourism in Kuwait, where apparently there is no tourism, but she is going to change that. So let's hear from Dr. Abir Saad Al-Rumaya.
Assalamu alaikum, and hello everyone. Thank you for having me and give me this opportunity to talk about myself in Muslim women in tourism challenge and the future. My name is Dr. Abir Al-Rumaya, and I will share you my personal profile. I'm a PhD holder in tourism and hospitality management from Bournemouth University. I work on my thesis is based on the development of culturally sustainable tourism in Kuwait. Right now, I am working in Biata as an assistant professor, and I will establish a consulting office for tourism and hospitality management, as well as I start a small business. So I'm talking to you today about my business profile, which I inspire from my work on my PhD, and it's having the attention of cultural tourism in Kuwait, as well as compatible to the social culture characters in Kuwait society. So I have this idea of having a small business depending on day trip for ladies. So I started and this is some video and picture of my work where we can go and day trip, for example, for farms in Kuwait and island, also in cultural place such as Al Mubarakiya in Kuwait. We're doing some cookery training course for ladies, hosting and a chef, giving some information about how they can do some recipes, as well as enjoying working together and having their day trip, as I said, in many places or even in many aspects. From my also my work as well as my study, I find there's some challenges in Kuwait because Kuwait is a collective and conservative society. It's the family unit lifestyle is make harder and sometimes challenge to do individual activities. As well as my friend have been talking before, the tradition, norms, and the Islamic religion sometimes giving barriers to do many tourism activity. Women in the hospitality sector is not socially accepted from many families in Kuwait. Also, the problem of the tourism is at the moment as industry is not developed So there's challenges we facing many different point of view, but the challenges sorry, the voice. I said, mentioned there challenges and giving the thing is maybe difficult to work on it, but I still have a hope to make its change. It's need time, but there will be changes because there's a lot of Kuwaiti people prefer to the outbound tourism, and they spend $4 billion per year at 2018, for example. So instead of giving this amount of money for outside of Kuwait, we can use some of their money, this money in Kuwait, and trying to having some tourism industry in Kuwait. And regarding, as I said, from my study, I come to Butler lifestyle model, which helped me to suggest that tourism development in Kuwait is an exploratory stage with the earlier stage. And this also may provide an opportunity to identify Kuwait has the potential to become a location for a tourism destination, and at the same time can minimize the negative social culture impact. And monitoring also each stage of the development of the lifestyle, the life cycle can minimize the negative social culture impact, and we can reach the top of this model of Butler. So we can say for the future for tourism in Kuwait, we can start by raising awareness. We need to raise awareness for the community that the tourism is an alternative source of income, as Kuwait is depending at the moment for the oil only, and it will finish one day. So we have to find another source of income. And I have been invited, or I have go in TV program talk about the importance of tourism and how it's important for Kuwait as a country, and may change many things, especially for women, because Kuwait have a large of population is growing youth population, so they need to have this benefit, as well as we have to follow the example of the Gulf country. For example, Dubai, it's have been leading for tourism for many years, and it's coming on the way, the Saudi Arabia, giving a very good example. What are they doing? Especially they trying to establish the tourism and activity. We see, for example, before 2 days, they opening the season of Riyadh with a large of people that are attending there. So they have to be another thinking to also having these models, to follow this model, encouraging Kuwaiti women to have a role in developing tourism in Kuwait. Also, we have the vision of 2035, that make Kuwait having this as they call it as a new Kuwait. So there is a mega project for development in each sector, and I think tourism have to be one of these sector that develop by that time. So there is a big chance for the people, especially the women. They have protection of a small business running by women in tourism and hospitality management. And I wish for myself, as I'm starting also a business, and my colleagues in Kuwait, that they are going, especially the women, that I encourage them to have the ideas of doing business in tourism, because it's really good for them from the benefit of, from also benefit. They have to benefit from money, as well as when it's have been changing them, their personality, to have more opening and doing a good thing for themselves. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Yes, I thank you so much. And it sounds like you're on the leading edge of all of this. And I wish you all the help that you need to make that happen. I would like to remind everybody that everybody's bio and profile is on the website, the tourismwebinar.com. So if you have any questions, or if you have any suggestions or help for any of our speakers, if you need to ask them something, if you go to the website, you'll find their contact information and everything about them. We thank you so much for listening, all you that are live right now on the website and YouTube and Facebook. But this is recorded and it can be listened to forever. And in fact, more people tune in afterwards than during. So thank you very much once again, Dr. Abir Al-Rumaya, and we wish you the best of luck with all of your goals. Our next speaker is Rania Yahia, and she's an Egyptian tourist guide, and she has some interesting stories for us too. So let's welcome Rania.
Hello, thank you. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Rania, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but not well.
Okay. Is it much better?
It's really not.
Okay, I'm gonna try something else.
It sounds like you're a little muffled. If you'd like to work on it, we could go to the next guest and come back to you.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Our next speaker has become a dear friend of mine because I traveled with her in India. She was born in India, which we know is a country that has Hindus and Muslims and pretty much everything. And she runs a tour company that takes tours really everywhere in the world. She was one of the ones that was selected to be in Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. She writes very inspiring articles. And well, I'd like to welcome my friend, Deborah Sen.
Thank you very much, Bea. It's such a pleasure to be here on this panel. And Raza, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I come from a country where it's a secular country. All religions are accepted. The way I was brought up by my parents is religion is a format, it's an institution where it keeps us in line. It teaches us right from wrong, and it teaches us how to be tolerant of other peoples, other cultures, other religions, other foods, and to be open-minded and be accepting. I have found during my years of travel, I so traveled the different aspects of travel, but I never realized how religion would come into play. And recently, because of 9/11, a lot of my friends who are Muslims have faced a lot of racism. including myself, when I wear my Indian clothes, my saris, or if I wear my salwar kameez, I have people call me Paki, go back where you come from, stop selling your religion and trying to convert people. You know, it's getting to know people, understanding them, understanding the religion. So what I have started doing is that I've changed the face of travel for those who travel through me. And the first thing I say to people, why don't you read a book? And it's called 9 Parts of Desire by Geraldine Brooks. Very interesting book. It talks about how the hijab came into being. Muslim women initially never covered themselves. They were at par with men. They worked, they earned money, they were single parents. They were never ostracized from society. But there were reasons why these things happened. The changes happened. When Muhammad decided he was going to marry, he married 4 times for a reason. It wasn't to create a cult or anything. He wanted to show that if a woman is a widow, she can get married again. If a woman can't have children, she can get married. You know, she doesn't have to have children. So these are the things that one needs to take into consideration. I have, I'll give an example. A friend of mine, she was traveling, this is right after 9/11, and she covers herself. And she said she was going through immigration, the customs, and they stopped her. And security, I'm sorry. And they started touching her. And they said that, you know, when you go through the X-ray machine, we can't see through your hijab. We can't see through your coverings to see what you're concealing. And they took her to a separate room and they patted her down, which was ridiculous. You have the X-ray machine, it can see through, if it can see through your body, it can see through your clothes. And they started asking her questions, what are you a part of? And that is so ridiculous. We're all of the same, come from the same community, the same people. When you look at, when you're going to start being Islamic phobic, you know, don't eat pasta because pasta came from the Arab country. It was brought from the Arab country and Italy to the next level. You like kebab? Don't eat kebabs like Muslims because it is the Persians, when they came to India, they brought kebab to India. They taught us how to marry, they taught us how to skewer the meat and barbecue it. There are things that we learn from each other when we open ourselves up. And it is a shame that we allow this phobia to come into play, and it prevents us from being who we need to be to grow from a spirit of things. And the one thing that my friend said that she found very upsetting is the guy asked her, are you a terrorist? That's the first thing that came out of his mouth. And she said, why don't people get to understand us and our religion and why we dress the way we do, to know where we're coming from? So when you get to know a person and you get to know culture, you're understanding the different things that you can learn from people. And my travels and my having gone to, Malaysia, I had to go to a mosque and I was told I had to cover myself, which I did do, because when you go to a Hindu temple, you cover your head and you only do it out of respect. That's it. You're not converting, you're not becoming, you're just imbibing and you're learning and you're accepting and you're showing them, I love you, I respect you. And what happens is that you create a new family, new friends. That's what you do. And travel needs to change. It needs to evolve. It is an education. I look at travel as a tool for education. We have to educate. I need to educate myself. So I read. My personal experience has been, I met a very nice young lady from Pakistan many, many years ago. This is like 20 years ago when I was living in New York. And I met her on the street and I was showing her the ropes, how to use her ATM card. We went and had coffee together. And we talked about her experience in America and how it's been very different. And it's been a frightening experience. So was mine. And at the end of our meeting, she said, you know, I have this Quran, but I don't want to offend you. I want to give you a gift that means a lot to me, that is a part of me. And I'm giving you this Quran with love. I have this Quran. I have read the Quran. When I went to India, I bought a special wooden box to put my Quran in. And I love that Quran. And it doesn't mean I've become a Muslim. I have read it and I've understood it and I've realized it's a word of God. And that's what religion is. When you look at terrorism, it's all about fanaticism. It's about the ego and the insecurity that these people have, that they want to control the world and they cannot, and they'll never control the world, because if we come out and speak and we change the realm of travel, it's going to be very different. We will succeed, and we will show that even though we look different, we dress different, we eat different, we're all the same. We come from the same place. And I love travel. And I think it's wonderful. It's exciting. It's an adventure. And, you know, I meet people like B. I meet my friend from Pakistan, and I have Indian friends. And I think the best part of learning from each other's religion is when you celebrate one another's holidays. I have celebrated Eid. I have cooked and I've created meals. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And that's what travel should be. Educating. We need to educate and understand and not be phobic. Phobic about something that we don't even understand and realize what it's all about. Thank you, Pete. Sorry, B, you're muted.
Yeah, please unmute yourself.
Unmute. Sorry, I wanted to say thank you, Deborah. Those were some beautiful words. I love that when everyone comes together and befriends each other, regardless of the belief system they need to get to the top. So we're going to try to go back to Rania Yahia, who has been in the Training and Quality Department of Expedia since 2005. Rania, are you here with your audio?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Oh, wonderful. Yes, yes. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you, and I'm going to talk about my experience as an Egyptian Muslim tour guide. I've been working as a tour guide since 2005, and you know, for a very long time, there was always a debate about the position of Islam regarding tourism. So even some people stated that Islam and tourism are contradictory, and tourism in Islam was described as just a religious spiritual process that aims only to visit the holy places like Mecca, Medina, or Al-Aqsa Mosque. However, reading just the Quran, will be able to see that there is a proof that Islam, even on the contrary, promoted tourism and travel. When we listen to the saying of the God, travel through the land and observe how he began creation, then Allah will produce the final creation. Indeed, Allah over all things incompetent. Holy Quran, Surah Al-Ankabut 20. So as a Muslim tour guide, I can see the image of Muslim women in the minds of many people all over the world, how it is affected severely by the Islamophobia, and the ideas about Muslims in general. So in daily basis, starting my tours, I was able to see how people were wondering when they find out that their guide in Egypt will be a female Muslim wearing a hijab. So that was not even expected by them. So in Egypt now, as tour guides, we worked on both directions. First direction is to improve the conception of the Muslim woman and the Muslim word in general in the people's minds. And also on the other direction, we were working in improving the life of Muslims, and especially the women in the society. Especially because Egypt now, the society is aware of the impact of the number of female travelers in general, and the Muslim female traveler in particular on the tourism sector. And we worked on some tailored programs that suit the needs of the Muslim female traveler. Either she's traveling in a group or traveling alone. And also, we, out of the rising awareness of the importance of the woman rule in the tourism sector, that resulted with a huge number of women working in the tourism field or the related fields. And we tried to find some societies, organizations, and some associations to help those women improve and be able to find their ways in tourism, in the market in general. So I'm gonna give you one example of this, the cooperation between the Civilization Light Association and the Kavandoli Academy, cooperating with the female solo traveler Egypt blogger. We actually, some tour guides, some Egyptian tour guides handling those three organizations, giving, like, as I mentioned before, providing training on several industries in tourism, such as handicrafts, arts sessions, history sessions, archaeology sessions, and more. Beside this, beside the training, we also used to help women to participate in international and national markets to provide them with variable channels of marketing their products. And setting our dream to have strong bonds with other partners all over the world in general, and in Africa in the specific. We are working now on initiating cooperations with partners in Tunisia, Morocco, and Algeria, and some other Arab and African countries. That was the experience I like to share with you about what we're doing here as tour guides in Egypt, working to improve the lives of Muslim women inside our society, and improving the image of the Muslim women in the minds of people all over the world as well. Thank you.
I was muted, sorry. Thank you so much, Rania. You're doing a lot of good work. Great steps in that direction. So all the best to you. Our next speaker is Dr. Birgit Schauer, and she has a PhD in tourism management from the University of Queensland, Australia. She's been published in top international publications. She is a wealth of information about travel. She's also one of the members of the International Institute of Peace through Tourism. And we're looking forward to welcoming Dr. Birgit Schauer. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Bea. I'm delighted to be once again part of this webinar series that obviously Reza has been organizing lately, with wonderful topics that all address tourism per se, but also peace, as you just mentioned, peace through tourism. Where do I start? It's delightful, all the information that's been shared by everyone, and all the experiences and the different perspectives. Where do I come into this? I'm probably not that much different to Deborah or Dr. Johnson, in that sense that my most recent experience, of course, has been in education. And that's probably where I've been getting really, really quite passionate about the topic on tonight, or today, should I say, is women in tourism, but also women empowerment along with that, because what I'm hearing through all of these presentations is a focus on travel for women, Muslim women, working as Muslim women in tourism, but also the education component that is so important for Muslim women, and that whole notion of fostering that engagement of women, Muslim women in travel and tourism. So this is what I always hear and heard through all the presentations. I thought, well, where do I start? I come from industry as well, and not just from education. And that's probably where I'm slightly different to most academics, because I worked in industry and airlines and tourism resorts and travel agencies, and as a tour guide as well. So I have all the industry experiences, and then later on, at the age of 39, actually, did I start my undergraduate degree for travel and tourism, and then continued on to do my PhD later on as a mature-age woman with children. So I know the challenges that we women go through, if I may say generically, whether we are Muslims or whether we're Christians or of any other kind of religious belief. And that is something I think to bear in mind. That particular point I make because when I always talk about tourism and the way I approach tourism is the realization that tourism is a microcosm of society. So all the challenges that we've been talking about today, it's very much a reflection of society. It's not in isolation. And we could hear the stories reflecting on that. And that to me is a very important one. Keywords that I've heard obviously around today is bias, prejudice. Islamophobia is, I think, one of the big underpinning issues here. With that also is patriarchy came up. And the patriarchy is an interesting notion because, as I said, I'm originally German by background, and I migrated to Australia when I was 19. And I've experienced that, and I lived in various countries ever since, including my beloved United Arab Emirates, because I've got a lot of friends and a lot of adopted family, if I may say so there.
Bridget, I'm sorry, you are muted. Please unmute yourself.
I can. Okay. I think I'm back again. I don't know what happened here. Can you hear me again?
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
All right. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, the notion of patriarchy was mentioned earlier, and that has also to do with who we are as women in tourism, Muslim women in tourism. I remember when I started teaching at Zayed University, and like Deborah, I always said we share our information. I learned from the students and they learned from me, and it was continuously exchange of beautiful experiences. And along with that, I shared that actually I grew up also in a patriarchal society as a girl who was not expected to study and be expected to marry young and just inverted commas, be a housewife and not pursue any educational aspirations. So that was an insight that I noticed the girls quite appreciated, because it's not in isolation. We should not just stereotype one part of society or global society. The patriarchy is actually something that permeates a lot of societies, and that includes the Western societies, I might add to that. So that was one particular point. When I talk about women or Muslim women in tourism and my experience at Zayed University, I often refer back to my experiences there. Now living back in Germany, where I grew up, actually my hometown, but also when I was back in Australia as an Australian citizen, after I finished my work at Zayed University, I came across a lot of ignorance and a lot of prejudice against the Islam religion. Ignorance, not knowing anything about it, or not knowing anything about Arab cultures, and throwing everybody, as we could say with the Europeans, into one pot, into one homogenous kind of category, which is all Arabs, not even diversifying the whole experience, or that there are actually Muslims all around the world and not just associated with what people associated with where I was in Australia or Germany. This Islamophobia coming through. So what I do, I quite often refer to my stories that I experienced when I was there. The first one I'd like to share today, which I share with a lot of people, is one of my students basically adopted me, so to speak, part of the family, and I still am adopted into the family. Now she has 2 beautiful children. And whenever I travel back there with Aisha and Sultan and Mohammed and Mara, we travel as a family, and then also with a mother in the car. So we travel as cohesive family, and I am blonde and I'm a Christian and they're Muslims. We go out together and walk together, and we can sense how people stare at us. And Aisha would say, oh, the locals are actually looking at us, and they say something Arabic. I can't understand it. Then we go to a cafe and we get attacked by this group of German women coming to me and speaking in German, saying, can we take a photograph of all of you sitting together with these particular Arab women? I said, well, you shouldn't ask me. You should ask these ladies, if at all. So there's prejudice all along and bias all along as far as Muslim women in tourism is concerned. And there's all these layers: traveling, working in the field, and also education. Another story that I like to actually, use for that is when I was travelling through the United Arab Emirates on my way to London, the W2M in 2016, actually to meet up with Louis D'Amour to talk about peace through tourism. We stopped again at my adopted family there with Aisha and Sultan. And my son, we got all part of the family. We all did things together. And I remember vividly Sultan and Mark sitting on the couch and said, "Can I take a photograph of both of you?" And without any kind of announcement or anything at all, they both were sitting there and putting up the sign of peace in front of me to say, "Hello, we're sitting here in peace together, the two of us," without any announcement. And I thought how wonderful that is. There's no idea about segregation or anything. And we women looked on. Aisha there standing, and Mum standing there, me, and we looked at each other and said, "Isn't that magic?" So this whole notion of prejudice and bias needs to be broken down. And that's probably where my engagement is now that I'm not in the university system. I have, my role now is to try and break that down, apart from storytelling, which is through media, all sorts of media, is also through education. And I've decided to publish a book with that premise. It's called The Way of the Peaceful Traveller, Dare to Care and Connect, because that's what we all need to do. Travel teaches us, travel is educational. How are we engaging with the women? As I said, I was teaching a lot of purely Emirati students at Zayed University, and their enthusiasm and their engagement with the whole topic of tourism, whether it was through research projects or whether it's marketing or the notion of talking about ethics and sustainability, everything they were like sponges taking all that in. And now, down the track, I see them involved in positions in travel and tourism marketing, traveling the world. When I watch my Facebook notifications or something on Instagram, and I see my young ladies traveling through Greece, I think, oh, wonderful. I've recently lived there and I have a lot of affection. So, oh, wonderful. They're sharing it as well. Independent young women, as it's been pointed out, a lot of them travel solo. On the other hand, of course, we have women travellers who travel as mums, like Aisha does. When we were travelling, we were actually meeting up in 2018 in Indonesia. I was in Australia and they were in the United Arab Emirates. So we decided to meet up halfway and meet in Indonesia. Already she had little Mohammed there, and so we decided to do a day trip, and Sultan had arranged all that. We went into the mountains, and by surprise he had organised whitewater rafting trip for all of us to get involved in. So here we all are, Aisha in a particular hijab and all dressed up in that Muslim attire that is very apparent, and I with my long blonde hair, and Sultan and the boys, as I call them always, sitting there happily in that whitewater rafting draft, and we just had so much fun. We laughed so much. We ended up at a restaurant. Admittedly, it was an Arab restaurant that had been recommended, and then Sultan said, again, a story that I relate to people when they stereotype women versus Muslim men, because we can't segregate the whole notion of talking Muslim women in tourism without actually addressing the notion of how the males are engaged in all of that debate. So we have to bring both parties into this whole storytelling that we are projecting. And for me, it's always important then to point out that, for instance, Sultan would go out with little Mohammed and play outside while the two girls of us were sitting inside and chatting away. So it's that notion to me that is also important to highlight in anything in the topic of Muslim women in tourism, the challenges and the future where we're heading. I've noticed that some people also very specifically said something about Islam and the whole Islamophobia. And I relate quite often to a couple of quotes that His Highness, the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan said many years ago. And it says, Islam affords women their rightful status and encourages them to work in all sectors as long as they are afforded appropriate respect. And I think it's a very important statement to highlight to people, and I do use that quite often to make that point, which I think was just before reiterated. Also, another one that I like, and I said before, I come from a society and grown up and with patriarchal values amongst my parents. I wasn't supposed to study, hence I didn't study till 39 years of age. But it says, he said, I hope that the women in my country will follow their sisters in those countries which have previously made the adjustment to the procession of progress and development. And I think that is where we're heading, and that's what we're witnessing, for instance, in Saudi Arabia, or the development in tourism, and also in Kuwait. So I'm quite excited. I'm very passionate about what we're doing today, and I hope we can do more of it and really foster this whole notion of actually peace through tourism, which is we are all ambassadors for peace. And way back when I was at Zayed University, I remember running a program for the Abu Dhabi Tourism Authority for one-day workshop, and that was part of the ambassador program for the Abu Dhabi Tourism Authority, already in recognition that everybody, every Emirati, male and female who were present there, 56 executives and managers, all participating in a one-day workshop as ambassadors for tourism, Abu Dhabi Tourism Authority. So ambassadors for peace, we all are ambassadors for peace. And that's my final statement to that one today. Thank you.
Dr. Birgit Traore, thank you so much for your very positive words. We all know there's no peace without tourism, and there's no tourism without peace. So any of you would like to find more about the International Institute of Peace through Tourism, you can head to their website, which is iipt.org. Now, that was all of our speakers for today. And I think that we can conclude from everything that everyone said is this: you don't have to change anything. The world can change its heart. And that's what we're all waiting to happen. So we're going to continue along these lines, and the next webinar is going to be about African tourism and the challenges that African women face. And I wonder if Clara Okoro could join us to tell us a little bit more about what we can expect in that webinar. Clara, are you still here? So Claire might have left. Clara Chinwe Okoro, she's a partner of Tourism Webinar Africa, but she's with the travel tech company, My Beautiful Africa, which believes in creative content. Yes. Clara, if you can tease us with a few words about the next webinar, that would be great.
All right, so we're really looking to be a strong voice for the digital transformation of the tourism and travel sector in Africa. And we feel how we could achieve this is by, hosting series of webinars and seminars and summits to educate businesses on the need to adopt technology tools to enhance their business processes, to be able to be competitive. An example is if a company is running a tourism business and they're not even on the internet. So how will people be able to discover where you're telling them to come visit in your country? These little tools that we will arm them with could eventually lead to them becoming much more competitive and getting businesses to become profitable. So Riza and his team were very helpful in the last summit we held on the 30th of September. And we've got quite a lot of positive feedbacks, which has engendered us to go on the next one that we're going to host. And this time we're going to be focusing on women and how we could possibly form an ecosystem to enable them adopt technology tools to make their businesses a lot more efficient and profitable. And that's what we're working on.
That's great. Well, we look forward to the next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Preview.
If I may say something, we have Dr. Talab Rafai here, we have Mr. Rod Habis here, and Dr. Ludo Amor. So maybe we can give few minutes to Dr. Talab Rafai and then Ludo Amor and Rod Habis, Mr. Rod Habis, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Riza. Thank you. I've been listening very attentively to all what's been said. There are three issues here. One is about women, second is about Islam, and third, tourism. These are three different areas. But about women, I'm the last to be able to speak about it. I'm not a woman myself. I know that women have been feeling a bit deprived and discriminated against, whatever they are, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim. Women is a problem. Man has been ruling this world for 10,000 years. They've not done a good job, obviously. Women are much better managers of things. I say that very important. Now, having said this, I'm the least qualified to speak about the emotions and the feelings of women in the world of today. So let alone Muslim women. Islam is another thing. Islamophobia has been governing much of our thinking. And this is something that we should deal with, not just for women, for everybody, including men. I feel infected with Islamophobia myself. Women would feel much more about that. Now, that will be dealt with time. I know. I was listening to Rafaa when she started to talk. Rafaa, you're absolutely right. The feeling of Islamic women in tourism. I was Minister of Tourism in 2000 in Jordan. When I was minister at the time, there was not a single female that was working in the area of tourism, but a Jordanian one, definitely. When I left, there were 20% of the workforce was women, because it's a matter of political will. I agree with everything Deborah said when it comes to respecting the culture, but I disagree with her on when it comes to politics. Politicians have to bear some responsibility in this leadership that matters. And leaders around the world must be conscious of this and change the things. We've changed many things. We've raised it from 0% to 18-19% workforce of women in 3 years that I was minister, because I was determined to do that. And many politicians can do that. Prince Mohammed bin Salman is doing that in Saudi Arabia. Now he's changing the step. It comes from the top sometimes. Sometimes it has to come from the top. But the bottom is very important as well. Now let me just go back to what Deborah said, because Deborah is absolutely right. When you go to a place, it's because you respect that place. You have to respect the tradition and the culture of that area. You can't just go to a place and pretend like this is like where I came from. People shouldn't accept you as you are. You should come there to learn the culture, learn anything that has to do with society there. That's why I respect women go to the Arab world, and when they go to places, they feel they have to wear a hijab, they wear that. But that's not a must. Of course, it's not a must. You should interact with the society. You should respect the society that you're visiting. A tourist is not just a blonde person with blue eyes coming from Mars, like God on earth. Tourist is somebody who comes to learn from me. And you should respect what I have, just as we respect what Europeans have when they go. We go to visit them. I live in Jordan. I know that it's not easy for a woman here. I know Rafaa would agree with me on this. But still, there's a culture. Religion is part of the culture. It's not just something on its own. It's created some facts on the ground. These facts have to be respected by anybody that visits us. If they don't respect it, they shouldn't come to us. Sorry to say that, Pia. It's a fact. Now, you don't have to act like us, but respect us at least. That's very important. Thank you so much. That's what I want to say, and I'm ready to engage in any discussion anybody wants. Thank you. Thank you, Riza, once again.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Do we have any more speakers?
Yes, Mr. Ludo Amor and Mr. Rafaa Haddad. I don't know if they're...
Yes, I have a question. May I ask the question? I am from India. I'm teaching in a university. I'm a professor of tourism. I have a question.
Would you please ask your question at the end? Now, we still have two gentlemen who are going to speak. Please, just a few minutes. Thank you, sir. Lou, please.
Yes, I'm here.
May I ask the question?
Sir, would you please wait just 2-3 minutes, and then you can ask your questions. We have a time for the questions. Just wait a few minutes.
Thank you.
Hello, Riza. I'm here. Yes.
Okay, please.
I'd like to congratulate you for putting this excellent symposium together, and our mutual.
You should thank all the women. They are the one who did that.
Okay, thank you, all the women, and particularly our good friend Deborah, who's done an excellent job as moderator, as she usually does. I'm reminded, Riza, of my travels to a number of Muslim countries, particularly in the Middle East and Iran, and the wonderful hospitality received in every destination, the warmth, the friendliness of every person encountered is just amazing. And that for me has also always been a memorable experience. And the thought that comes to mind, particularly as we think about the Middle East, is that we are all sons and daughters of Abraham, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. And in particular, one of my favorite projects is the Path of Abraham, which begins in Ur, the birthplace of Abraham, travels, continues through Turkey onto Israel, Jordan, Palestine, and into Egypt. And it's a marvelous example of the hospitality one encounters when they travel that Path of Abraham, experiencing the hospitality of people along the way, their customs, their food, and so on. I'm sure Taleb can relate to all of this. So again, I would like to thank you for the excellent job that you do, Riza. And again, our good friend B, for all that you do and your marvelous job of moderating.
Thank you. Are we going to hear from Raed Habis?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and peace be on all of you. I would like to thank Mr. Reza for putting up this excellent webinar. Also, I would like to thank you, Binjudu, for being moderating this long webinar with different backgrounds, different culture. I'm very glad to see our friends, Dr. Talib Rifai and Dr. Deborah in this webinar. I listened very carefully to all the speakers since the start. We need actually more of these webinars to hit, cross-culture gaps. We live now in a digital divide. We have these digital platforms, and in the past, people used to travel to explore, to understand differences among culture, beliefs, religion, customs, and history. Now we live in a small village, and through communication, people start to understand each other more. They start to develop better understanding, and they start to respect each other culture. As Dr. Deborah said, we all belong to the big prophet Ibrahim. We have in Saudi Arabia this 4,000-year journey where Prophet Ibrahim traveled from Egypt to Saudi Arabia to Mecca at that time. And since then, people come from every walk of life from the planet with different education, with different backgrounds. They all meet in Mecca, 3 million people. They all live in peace, and they share their, beliefs or services, and they live all in peace. being, I studied in the UK when I was 12 years old, in the US about 10 years, and I traveled to more 150 destinations globally. The whole world want to live in peace. And it's only a problem of miscommunication. And the more people travel, the more appreciative they become to other culture. And we live in a beautiful world. It's only the problem, again, is miscommunication. I worked as director of tourism development and investment in the Organization of Islamic Country, the Chamber of Commerce. My main objective of that division was to bring more people from across the globe to also increase inter-tourism into the 57 states. I organized almost 2 Islamic tourism conferences. One was in Saudi Arabia in Jeddah, and the other one was in Tehran, Iran. And we have really beautiful geography, we have beautiful nature, we have beautiful culture, and we need to discover each other more. And
I agree. And sir, do you have a question? I totally agree with you.
Sure, please ask. You have a question?
Or are you going to list it? We're going to.
Well, because now this is the part of the webinar where we're open to questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I just want to close my statement. I thought I had just to deliver a speech. Okay, now what I want to conclude, perhaps I want to make a recommendation here, since I saw all this masterminds, all this expert, perhaps we make a global organization. The Islamic world is about 1.5 billion Muslims. I can say 50% are female. I can say that now with the leadership in Saudi Arabia opening up to the globe, there could be a lot of seminars, workshops, conferences. There could be digital platforms to share stories, to share handicrafts, to open more jobs, and to decrease unemployment and poverty. And today in Saudi, they launched the Saudi Green Initiative, and part of that is One Planet and sustainable tourism. I want to thank you all, and I'm very sorry for talking too much.
Oh, no, that's nice to hear your words. Thank you. And are there any other questions from anyone?
I have a question. May I ask the question?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful presentation and wonderful discussion by the experts. My first question is that which particular country getting maximum number women, Muslim women, number one, which city, and what is their spending power? How much currencies or money they are spending? This is my first question. And second question, that there are a lot of countries, those who are following Islam, but there are some countries, they are not Islamic countries, but a sizable number of Muslims they live, and there are a lot of Islamic sites, but there are a lot of destruction on the Islamic sites. So is there any strategy that in non-Muslim country the Islamic sites can be developed for the betterment of the society and betterment for the humanity? Thank you very much. If anyone can give me the answer of these two questions.
Well, I think that I will leave it to the experts, but I know that Islamic travel with women is $80 billion, and it is the younger ones that are kind of fueling that one, which is fantastic. That's an incredible amount of tourism. As for the second one, I think our expertise is more on women and expanding the world of tourism for Islamic women. So I don't know if anyone has the answer to your second question.
My second question?
Yes, because that's a very broad, global.
There are a lot of countries, there are a sizable number of Muslims that live, and Islamic sites are there, but the sites are being destroyed by different ways. So is there any, any organization, those who can, protect or preserve these, Islamic sites in non-Muslim countries?
Does anyone have that?
Yes, can I try to answer that one?
Yes.
Of course, Islamic sites are just like any other site. They're just sites. UNESCO is in charge of all cultural heritage, and UNESCO is the organization that protects all cultural sites. I think we should work with UNESCO, should work with IIPT, and organizations like that protect the culture of certain minorities in a country. I think that's what the question is asking about. It's asking about Muslim minorities in non-Muslim countries. I believe that's like protecting any part of your body. Your body is many, many, many parts. Parts of your body are Muslim. They should be protected. That's it. Okay.
Thank you. Very lucky to live in Toronto, where we have such a cross-section of cultures and backgrounds. And I have a small group of friends that likes to go and visit mosques. We go to Sikh temples, Hindu temples, churches, and we just enjoy the culture and the food that's offered there. And I think the more that we partake of each other's cultures, the more we can appreciate them and create this peace in understanding each other's common ground, which Dr. Talib Rafaa, you were saying so beautifully earlier. I think that brings our webinar to an end. So I would like to very much thank you, Dr. Rafaa, as well as the other speakers. And Lou Moore, thank you so much for joining us. And also we've got Raid Habis who joined us, and our speakers, Dr. Rafaa Haddad, Dr. Birgit Trauer, Rania Yahya, Deborah Johnson, Dr. Noor Sharifuddin, Dr. Sahar Movadi, Abir Saad Al-Rumaya, Dr. Rasha Ahmad Al-Maita, and Deborah Sen. So, and Reza too, thank you so much for organizing this webinar and all of the others. And we very much would like to thank the people that have joined us live, either on the webinar website or YouTube or Facebook, and also to know that this will run, it will be on the website forever. And so you can have a listen by going to www.tourismwebinar.com. So thank you very much for participating in this one, which addressed the challenges of Muslim women in tourism.
Thank you so much, Pia. Thank you. That's
so
very,
much,
very kind of
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Thank you, Reza. Thank you, Reza.
Thank you.
For putting this together.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Please visit
Bye.
our website for the next upcoming webinars. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, Bea.
Bye.